For more on the Supreme Court nomination process of Judge Jackson, let's bring in Congressman and House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. Congressman, your job is to count votes in the House, but what do you think the vote count is in the Senate right now? How many votes do you think are in play?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I don't know. I think it'll be bipartisan. I was a bit taken aback by the hearings. I thought, sure, after going through the process we went through, 2 years of having this discussion about an African-American woman on the Supreme Court, I thought, sure, that the questions would stay in bounds. They really got out of bounds, and that surprised me a whole lot. So I'll be surprised if she doesn't get 3 or 4 Republican votes.
3 or 4, would that include, you believe, Senator Graham from your home state of South Carolina?
No, I don't. I think Graham seemed to have made it very clear that he was not going to vote for her, and his question didn't indicate that he is going to keep that commitment not to.
You say you were taken aback, Congressman. What part of that line of questioning, or what else during the 4 days did you find to be unexpected or particularly distinctive?
Well, I think the Republicans sort of took this in a place that none of us thought a party would go to begin with. Why are you arguing about a private school, what they teach first, second, and third graders? Race is a fact in this country. The racial problem is a fact in this country. And you don't solve problems by pretending they don't exist. And we saw questions that seemed to indicate that we're going to just pretend we don't have this kind of a problem. You don't bring religion into this kind of discussion. And I was taken aback by the fact that Lindsey Graham brought religion into the discussion. These things have always been out of bounds, but seem not to be anymore.
Republicans took some heat during this week for focusing so much on child exploitation cases and the judge's handling of child exploitation cases. That being said, at this moment in time, with kids so tethered to electronic devices, a lot of parents are concerned about that issue. Should that issue be out of bounds? Wasn't that a fair issue to tackle this week?
It's fair to tackle any issue. It's also fair to expect civility when you do. And what made all of these things out of bounds was the lack of civility. So it's not the subject matter as much as it is the process that took place.
It's been widely reported that you pulled then candidate Biden aside at one of the Democratic primary debates and urged him to publicly announce his intention to nominate a black woman for the high court. How pivotal or important do you think that pledge was, and is it playing out the way you anticipated?
It is playing out exactly the way I had hoped. I didn't know what to expect. I know what I was hearing throughout the African-American community, and this is not new. Back in 2000, I played a role in getting the first African-American on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, Roger Gregory, and he's now the senior judge. So this has been part of my forte for a long time, trying to make this country's greatness accessible and affordable for all of its people. And this is that part of that process. We've been a country now for, 240 some odd years? Never an African-American woman on the Supreme Court. Now we've had 5 women, and not a single one has been African-American, not even discussed. How can that be fair?
The president's poll numbers have been, and to a degree, remain soft. Is this nomination, is this process going to eventually impact those numbers?
Yes, it will. But it's not the only thing that's going to impact those numbers. I think the president's numbers are going to start to go up. This will help the things he will be doing going forward. I think he's going to be doing some things on voting that may surprise some people, and a few other things. His numbers will go up. But people have been comparing this president to Franklin Roosevelt and other presidents, I've always compared Joe Biden to Harry Truman. If you can go back and look, I have been comparing him for a long, long time. His style, his demeanor, it reminds me a lot of Harry Truman. His steel will and the way he's going to go about running his office of the presidency, I think people will remember that Harry Truman's numbers were always soft. And so much so until newspapers didn't read on the results to announce the victory in the 1948 election that Harry Truman won, although the newspapers declared it was Dewey that had won. Same thing here. This president is doing a great job. The American people know that, and I think that we'll all see that at the polls.
Let's talk about elections.
Taking place now.
Speaking of elections, you filed Monday to run for a 16th term in South Carolina's 6th District. Are you going to seek to stay in leadership in the next Congress?
It all depends upon what happens in November. I'm realistic about these kinds of things, and I think that everybody will be looking at who earns a leadership role. I will continue to do as best I possibly can to do what's right for this party, to do what's right for my caucus, and then I'll make decisions based upon the relative success that I might have.
You mentioned it depends on what happens in November. If the party were to lose the majority, does that mean you may consider standing down from leadership?
Well, I may lose my reelection. I've got 2 opponents in the primary. I got another opponent in the general. And so I will cross that bridge when I get to it.
Congressman Jim Clyburn, we'll see a lot of you between now and November. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.